Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're gonna do a new segment, something I wanted to do with the channel since for a while now. Actually, I wanted to be able to do "This is why I love" series, or "I love the show," or something like that. Something like "Why I love this," ellipses, ellipses, ellipses. Because I thought it'd be cool to do finally something like on the channel where I don't necessarily have to review something weekly. I can review something to where it's at currently, talk about why I love it and why you guys should check it out, and then probably cover it maybe if it interests me more. Yeah, so let's begin. So I want to talk about this first episode, why I love. It's gonna start with one series that I'm keeping up with, that I'm really enjoying. It's so fun, it's so cool, and that is why the Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro. And Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro is probably at first glance one of those easy, like not harem but ecchi kind of slice of life series, and it really, for the most part, really is. It's about this kid whose name is escaping me. Let me what was his name? Anyways, we just refer to him as Senpai in this entirety, because we hardly mention his name. But yeah, so Senpai and Nagatoro are the two main characters of the show. Senpai is very much this reclusive, sheepish kind of character who really, for the lack of a better word, he's just reserved and he's to himself. And one day, as he's going to the library to, further work on a series he's been crafting, or I think it's to study, it's one of the two, he runs into four show bitches. And for those who don't know what a show bitch, is that what they are? Show bitch, it's the popular girls, the very in Spanish we call them paisas, but like it's very like those kind of promiscuous, very misbehaving. They're not loose women, but they're not opposed to. They're just the type of girls who just do what they want, in a sense. They're not stuck up. They're not pressy. They're just free and let it bear, all kind of girls. If that makes any sense, I hope it does. But anyways, as he's passing by them, some of his material drops, and it's a bunch of stuff from his light novel that he's working on, and they are just picking it apart. But one girl who reads it, one girl who actually gets into it, she just utterly destroys him. When all her friends decide to leave, she keeps picking on him and makes him cry, and eventually she kind of, in a sense, befriends him, and that's Miss Nagatoro. And it's such a cute relationship, and ever since this meeting, she just constantly bothers him, and she constantly annoys him, and we definitely have a lot, and I cannot kid you, a lot of memeage because of this. Yeah, we have a lot. But it's such a fun series. The series is very much her toying with the main character, which is of course Senpai, and in a sense, helping him be more comfortable, and really establishing a relationship between these two. And it's one thing I really want to talk about, why I love this series, why I want to do it, why I love this series, because there's certain elements of a show that just make me fall in love with it. For example, for Darling in the Franxx, it was it was the metaphorical way of union, or sex, or intercourse, in a sense, especially with the pistols and their drivers. And I've always been, for lack of a better word, interested in how a show portrays relationships. For me, I love character relationships in all series. I think they're always the best. They're the best aspects, and they always have the coolest stuff ever. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to do it. That's why I love series. For example, Darling in the Franxx is one example. For Fullmetal Alchemist, it's the actual lore that they use for most of the alchemy lore. There's a bunch of other shows that do something similar that make me really just enjoy they just really make me enjoy a lot of the stuff that I see, because the symbolism and everything else really adds on to the series. It really gives the series more weight. It gives the series more, in a sense, fun to enjoy. Yeah. But yeah, so let's continue what I really love about the series, because there's a lot that I want to cover. And this is continuing with the most recent episode with the festival episode and the date episode, and along with let's go home episode, because where I'm at right now, there's a lot of stuff we really need to talk about, and let's just jump right in. So one big symbolism thing I love a lot in this show is the symbolism, or not the symbolism, but the portrayal of powers and relationships. And what I mean by powers and relationships, I am slightly referring to dominant and submissive persons in relationships. And I think the show has a very positive way and a very loose interpretation, not a loose interpretation, but a very healthy interpretation of how to go about explaining these powers and relationships in like the most healthy aspect possible. And this is probably done the best in the most recent episode. But before we even talk about the most recent episode, we really need to start at some of the beginning episodes of this series, because they really do kind of somewhat they slide the little tidbits of it to get us prepared for when these big shifts in the characters occur. For example, we know that the Nagatoro in the beginning first episode, she picks on Senpai for just literally his light novel. Let's start right there. He portrays this man dynamic, this male and female dynamic, with the man being the hero and the girl being the supporting character, and how she kind of fawns over him, and he's like the perfect gentleman, and that's his beginning ideology of what a man is supposed to do and what a woman is supposed to be. And when Nagatoro sees this, and she kind of breaks the mold by saying no man would ever say something. She kind of breaks down saying like a real man could never say something so embarrassing. A real man can never say these things and stuff like that. Like it's all very much her breaking down the not the illusion, but breaking down this old concept of what it means to be a man, or like how exactly does one be a man? How does one stay manly? How does one be like this kind of person, you know? And she does that by saying like, you're not like the hero. As much as you want to act like you're this chivalrous man with who is a gentleman and perfect this and that, you're not. You're this weak, pathetic person. And she teases them like no woman would ever be like this either. Like I wouldn't say she's checking him, but I would want to say she's breaking this illusion that you have to be this person. She's kind of not breaking the illusion, but she's invading his perception of man and like a man role and a woman role, and saying no, like let's be honest, that's nothing like you are, and you shouldn't be not striving for that, but you shouldn't be deluding yourself to think that that's what you have to be. And she kind of teases him, she tortures him, and that's where it begins, where we see her I don't even say fetish, but like fetish. This is not her fetish. It's more of like the word get off doesn't necessarily mean this is what makes her come, but this is something that just brings her ecstasy, brings her enjoyment. This is something that truly like not awakens her, but like satisfies her. And I mean that in the most non-sexual way, even though it does look sexual, especially since the creator was a doshin. She was a hentai manga artist, I believe, or like an ecchi artist. But it's all good. It's all good. It's definitely hinted a lot and alluded to, but it's more played up, I would say, than it really is. But yeah, so she does this a lot, and she teases him, and she constantly berates him and attacks him and makes him feel bad for going to not even thinking, but the dynamic of the relationships established is that Nagatoro is the dominant one. She's constantly berating him and making him feel bad for just thinking of such pervy thoughts, or even just slightly impurities, or even just like a little thing like that, while he's very much a submissive person. He's naturally submissive. He doesn't want to talk out, he doesn't want to fight, he doesn't get angry, because in his character that's not who he is. And that's perfectly fine. And I think the what makes this relationship so beautiful is that she's constantly trying to show him it's kind of okay to be sheepish, to be to be timid, not to like speak up. Like it doesn't, you don't need to be this manly man. You don't need to be this guy who voices opinion and, you know, is a kind of a fuck boy and shit like that. Like, it's really much apparent in their dynamic how she tries to tease him, and the only reason why teasing him is so fun is because she's safe, she's in control. And I think a lot of people have these kind of they have these ideas, or they think they know when it comes to abuse and relationship, or like anything of this kind of like dominant submissive type relationships. They think that you know, the person who's in charge is the dominant one. Not necessarily. Both parties still have equal control. It's just what they allow for each other. As much as Senpai really doesn't like as much as he doesn't like being berated and being attacked, he very much has enough control in their beginning relationship to where if there was anything that he didn't like, he could leave. And I think she knows that. That's why she doesn't push him a lot. There's a couple episodes where she almost pushes him over the edge, and he is able to just reassure himself like, no, that's not what I am. I don't like this. This is not what's gonna happen. And there's moments where he challenges her too. In a sense, both of them still have equal power, despite them being one dominant, one submissive. They have equal power in their dynamic as a relationship, and especially in the like towards the end. In the very beginning, it seems like Nagatoro is always in charge, but she's just as much as a scared, shy girl as much as he's a scared, shy boy. It's just the way they approach their love. It's the way they in a sense, not confess, but it's like the pulling the hair, like the guy who likes the girl pulls her hair because he doesn't know any other way to show her that he's interested in her other than taking her attention by force. For her interest, despite it not seeming romantic at first, it is, she spiked interest in her. So how else is she supposed to get his attention by not showing that love? And it's very evident that she, in a sense, could have been shown that love in her own way. And the one thing I would want to, like, I have a big theory on is that her brother, the one that she talks about in all the series, in the whole series, the whole 7 episodes, I think 8 episodes, she refers to her brother a lot and how he's this and that. And I think two things: either her brother is just as sheepish as our senpai, or he's very much like her, where he would not torture her, but he would not peg, he would haze her and toy with her and everything else. And that's his way of showing his little sister how he loved her, and that's her way of showing it to him. In a sense, her grabbing her dominance back in that relationship is by teasing an older man the way her older brother teased her. That's her getting her power back, and it's really evident. And then a lot of fun fact is, in most relationships with dominant submissive, usually the dominant person was a very submissive person in his life. You could really tell a lot. Like, sometimes they may have been robbed of power, they may have been most of the time some of them have been like taken advantage of by like people in their life. Like the want for power in sex or in a relationship is a normal thing, but it can be very negative if you don't healthily address why do you need that, or why do you want that, in a sense. Like, why does my power come from? Where does my power need to be from? If that makes any sense. I'm sorry, like, I'm going off book here. I'm literally just freebirding. I'm freestyling this whole first episode. But yeah, and we see that in Nagatoro. We see how much she's very we could possibly assume these two things. And with their relationship continuing in the episodes, we see a progression. And one thing I really like a lot in Nagatoro is the inclusion of other people and the other characters, because the other characters are just as interesting of both Nagatoro and Senpai. Her friends are very much almost clones of her. But for one thing I really loved about the show is when they try to invade in her special relationship, when they try to invade and tease Senpai by calling Paisen, and they try to like toy with him and pick on him, it's very evident that she doesn't allow that type of behavior, because to her, the relationship she has where she tortures him and he cries and he blushes and he's embarrassed and he gets torn down a bit, that's their special relationship. That is their special connection with each other. And when we see how she reacts with other guys, we can see that she's bored of them. These guys don't interest her whatsoever, because there's nothing that interests her in somebody who's fake confident or just trying to get something by. There's nothing genuine in their personality, unlike with Senpai, who's genuinely a sheepish, submissive guy. And as much as that is not appealing to most women, to her, that genuine personality is more, it makes up for more than enough than what these other fuck boys try to offer her. And we see that when she like interacts with these other guys who like her, and she's just like, you guys are just lame, you guys are not like, you're not my cup of tea. Prior to of course Senpai, who she just loves teasing and loves torturing, like she's very lewd with him because she trusts him. Remember, the thing about these relationships is that there is this level of trust with each other. There's this level of boundaries, and she knows how far she can push him, and he knows how far she's willing to let him push. And it's fine. It starts off a little rocky at first because she's very like forceful with it, but eventually the rapport becomes almost chemistry. And we know that when he sees it, he's annoyed. He just like, why does she pick on these guys like that? He hasn't digested their relationship dynamic yet. Of course, they're young, they're kids, they don't know how to yet, but it's cute. I like it. While for her, she knows exactly what he means to her. She knows exactly how she likes him or how she's interested in him. And that is fucking apparent, really apparent, when her friends try to invade that relationship and touch him. And those who know about these type of relationships, especially these, you're not allowed to touch somebody else's partner the way you touch them. And I get that a lot of people are thinking, okay, I'm pretty sure I don't want my friends, touching my girl the way that I touch them. It's different. You're there. They have their own separate world, and you're trying to invade their world, thinking it's okay to do the exact same thing, and it's not. And that's what's so cute about Nagatoro, and so well executed, is her gut reaction when anyone tries to touch him. And she just swats their hands away, and only one of her friends, the leader one, the more one who's in the lead, she's the only one who notices this and is very interested in this aspect of, why do you care so much if we touch him? And it begins this kind of like tigress kind of catty fight between these two, in a sense, alpha women who want to be able to, take the two dominant women. I'm not gonna use the word beta and alpha. These two dominant women who want to be able to rule this person. To her, for one, it's a genuine relationship that they have. The other one, it's, I want to play with your toy because he's there, and if you don't want me to play with if you don't let me play with the toy, I'm gonna want to play with him more. In a sense, that's how that relationship between her friends peeking into her relationship with Senpai is. It's so cool, and it's done so well. Not done way better than that filthy grades of shades. You know what I mean? It's just so done well. I love it so much. And then with this most recent episode, let's talk about other stuff before I go into the most recent episode. We see like a lot of development from this character. We see him taking a lot more charge than usual, and that's something that's very apparent in relationships like this. Like, it's like for a dominant submissive relationship like this, there's gonna be changes. It's called switching, but it's very apparent that they have had moments of switching when he takes the lead, when he no, that's not what I'm gonna get to yet. No, sorry. No, my bad. There is switch elements in this where he switches between being a little bit more dominant, or not even more dominant, but what I was gonna touch on is, just because someone's submissive in a relationship doesn't mean they're a bitch. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, that doesn't mean like they're gonna take punishment, that they're all masochists. They're not gonna, like, just because my significant other toys with me, teases me, does me in a certain way, I'm going to like always be sheepish around people. And I think that's one big thing that I really want to touch on is he's kind of, if you notice the word they use a lot of animal symbolism. Nagatoro's usually, and her friends are more considered these cats. They're catty, they're bratty. While of course with Senpai, he's considered a sheep. His hair, his fluffiness, his aloofness, his sheepish behavior. But we've seen him, I want to say grow, but we've seen him progress more into this more like loyal part to her. Like when it comes to the girls wanting to cut his hair, he'd rather spin around and break free than let her friends cut his hair, because to him that special moment was supposed to be shared with Nagatoro. She was the one who was supposed to cut his hair. It's his evolution into what we'll talk more about later in the latest episode, of him being a dog now. He went from sheepish aloofness to more of this loyal pet to Nagatoro. And we've seen him like defend. And again, just because he submits to her in this aspect doesn't mean he's a punk bitch. When guys are staring at Nagatoro because she's sweating and they can see through her shirt, he steps in the way. Like when he sees people talking about her, like again, we'll go to this more recent episode, when he sees the guys talking to her and trying to flirt with her, he makes it apparent to say to muster up enough courage to say let's go, surprising her. Again, remember, just because she's the dominant one in the relationship doesn't mean she has to be the baddest bitch. Just because he's a submissive one in a relationship doesn't mean he has to be the punk ass bitch. It's very fluid, and I think that's what makes this show so good, is that it illustrates that perfectly. And one thing that I wanted to touch up more about the animal symbolism is when he gets the collar in the most latest episode. A collar, if you don't know, in these type of relationships is very what's the word I'm looking for? Personal. It's not something to laugh about. It's not something like, oh, that's a sexy kink. It's nothing like that. It delves way deeper than what the majority believe it to be. And for him to get collared by her friends first, rather than her put the collar on him, is almost a disrespectful thing. And we see that when she runs all the way from school to the festival and tries to act like it's not a big deal. But to her, winning her pet back was everything. Being able to remove that collar off of him and claim her dog for herself. Remember, she's the cat, the bratty cat who can get away with everything, and he's the loyal dog who will serve her and wants to protect her with everything. He still submits to her. He still falls victim to her, but that's his choice. Again, some of the symbolism in this is obviously spot on, but some of it is really like it's fun to delve deep into. It's fun to see that this, man has to be the one who always protects. This is like yes and no. I do believe a man should always protect a woman, but I do believe it's okay if, like, the best way to say this is, if you don't win the fight, it's okay. You stood up for your girl. So that I think that's still badass. And just because your girl is tough and she's a bad bitch doesn't mean you have to let her fight her own battles all the time. It's one of those things where, like, it's a subversion. That's a perfect word. It's a subversion to what we know as people in these type of relationships, or like outside looking in, like they have no idea what this is, but it's a subversion of what people think this type of relationships look like prior to what they really look like. And yeah, it's so good. Nagatoro is probably one of my favorite series, and that's why I love it. I love the symbolism of it. I love how it captures this dominant submissive relationship and does it in a way that doesn't feel forced down our throat. Yes, there's a lot of ecchi moments. Yes, it's very, at times, can be pushed to the limits, but it's done in a respectful tone where it doesn't feel like it's focused on the sexual aspect. Remember, there's different dynamics and power dynamics in all types of relationships, whether you have with friends, whether you have with your significant others, whether you have with family. And I think this is like a show that handles it in a way that that shows it's beyond just being a sexual thing for most people, because most of the times people obviously assume that, oh, you're into that stuff, it's probably because you're sexual. It's not because they're sexual. It's more just their way of describing love. It's their way of I don't want to use the word transmuting, but it's their love language. It's just a different language, and it doesn't always need to be sexual. In this fact, it pushes the bar a bit, but it's mostly just wholesome and harsh. Remember, these are kids in high school. They don't know nothing of this, but that power dynamic is something very well established. And from what they do know is being kids, is like, this is a relationship that they're perfectly fine with. This is a relationship that they very much like are okay with and they enjoy. For him, he gladly will be her dog, although he does protest and he fights it, he's happy with her. And as much as she's this catty, dominant cat who likes to torture him, she very much wants to see her dog be loyal and protect her. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing, like I said, I stated this, people who take these dynamics relationships are usually the opposite in real life. Nagatoro is very passive. She can care less. She doesn't care. She doesn't want to be touched. But with their relationship, like her relationship with Senpai, she's very much a dominant one. But at times, she does love seeing him take charge and be like this loyal pet. As much as he can't stand her and he, doesn't like being teased by her, he very much enjoys her company. Like when she texts him and calls him, he doesn't rely on that, but to him, that is everything. That is what makes him happy. When she says, you should ask me sometime to, go to the festival next year or something, that's her way of letting him know, like, our dynamic isn't set in stone. You can say what you want. It kind of breaks the point of, like, whatever she says is, God. It's not sense that it's, you have a say in this relationship just as much as I do have a say in this relationship. Just because you're like a pet to me or you're like a loyal dog or whatever, you can, come to me and tell me. Like, it doesn't have to be set in stone that this is our relationship where I pick the thing and you fall to arms. It's subject to change. It's subject to, like, it doesn't take away your human rights. It doesn't take away your wants, your likes. Like, that's what I like about it. It really does paint this healthy. It paints this in a healthy image that a lot of people think, like, especially a lot of these neckbeard people who believe like submission and domination doesn't just stop at the bedroom. It extends to all of life. When in very much they think that their stay is God. But that's not accurate. People who've actually been in relationships like this could probably back me up that it's much more complex, it's much more sincere, and there's a lot more shared power than thinking it's like one person holds all the power over the other. Again, most of the time, the people in these relationships are very much the opposite with their partners than they are with their partners. And it's again, this show is just so fun. It touches a lot of bases with this kind of stuff. And if anything I said remotely made sense, because again, I'm freestyling this whole video, please go check out the video. Please go check out Miss Nagatoro. Not check out my video. You're already watching the video. Go check out Miss Nagatoro, because it does touch it in a very, very eye-opening way. And I think for a lot of people who are misguided about what BDSM is, or like stuff like that, or power dynamics relationships, you should watch this, because it paints it in the best manner, which is, it's not all sexual. In fact, I want to say, like, it's very least sexual. It's just much more about having that power with somebody and having that trust with somebody. At the end of the day, it's all trust. It's all trust and communication, but mostly trust. But yeah, that's gonna be it for you guys. Thank you so much for this first episode of That's Why I Love. I really wanted to start this series because doing anime love talk was fun, but it definitely was it was a tough thing to do. I wasn't committed to it as much as like my other podcasts. Like, I have yet to like do a new episode. I've been busy. I've been trying to find more new stuff to do on the channel, and this is one thing I'd love to do. And I think That's Why I Love series would be perfect, because I can talk about series that I really like and I really enjoy, especially the newer ones that I don't want to cover week to week, where I can just let the episodes build up, watch it in one swoop, and then you guys can just enjoy. my take on what I loved about the series, and I can focus more about what I love about the series and not have to make a weekly video about, you know, oh, like that was a cool symbolism, where I can talk into like a little bit of depth about why I love certain parts of this. But anyways, guys, this is going to be it for the video. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, let me know down below what you would want me to cover for this show that you would recommend to me. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and get this video up to, I don't know, I don't want to give this a like goal. Let's just say 10 likes. I don't give a fuck. Let's get it to 10 likes or something. And also, where you've already done all that, might as well subscribe. Enjoy myself. Enjoy my content. It's very fun. We're on a road to 1,000 subscribers before this year ends. It's almost half the year already. We're at 50. If we get to 100, I'm doing a special 100 subscriber video. But yeah, guys, see you later. Peace and love. Peace and love. Adios.